What's up, everybody? Welcome on in. It's the Phillies postgame show on Broad Street Sports Unfiltered. The Phillies took care of business. You can say whatever you want. You could be upset we didn't retaliate, but they took care of business. I heard a statistic. It's their their 13th one series of the season. So they're they're stacking up series wins, and that's what you have to do in this league, and that's why they're in first place. So obviously, the final game of the series was not what we wanted. I mean, we wanted some retaliation, but even if we weren't going to get retaliation, we at least wanted to win or the game to be closer. They got shelled, but it is what it is. They won. They won the series. Now they got Milwaukee coming in, and we have to focus now to the Brewers, right? And I think the downfall really of tonight, well, one, the offense had a tough time again with scoring runners in scoring position. Where I really want to start the show is I want to talk about the first game of the doubleheader. But so let's go with the first game of the doubleheader. My main man, Rafael Marchand. For all you Marchand haters out there, all the Marchand haters, oh, we need Stubbs up, dude. He's a baller, bro. He's a baller. My main man Marchand went out there at the 2-run blast. And he was throwing runners out left to right. Got Ozzie Albies out in the ninth. Look, he's good. And I just want people to realize this, right? Like, it's hard to be a bench player. And it's even harder to be a backup catcher in the league. It's tough to do that. It's tough to play once, twice a week, if that. Try and come in and be a difference maker. Well, he did that today. The Phillies had a tough time trying to score some runs. Marchand got it started. Then you had the Turner RBI single. Then you had the Schwarber homer. So they started to pick it up. But yeah, I mean, I never saw Garrett Stubbs do what Rafael Marchand did today. You know what I mean? Like, that's like the difference here. It's like, well, maybe Stubbs, chief vibes guy. Maybe that's what he is. But he was never a difference maker out there on the field. He was never a difference maker with his bat when he finally got the chance. Marchand took advantage of what he had to do today. Took advantage of the fact he got playing time. And not only did he play well, but I thought he called a good game for my main man, Christopher Sanchez, who I thought pitched very well today. I mean, obviously gave up a couple hits here and there. That happens. But, I'm glad and I'm proud of the way he played. I mean, he did give up the 2 runs. He gave up the 2 runs. But, at that point, you're used to that. You can win a game when he's only given up 2 runs. He put you in a good spot to win it. The bullpen had a tough time trying to shut it down. They did. Romano. Earlier in the show, at the 11 o'clock show, I was praising Jordan Romano. And I was actually really happy, and I was praising his entrance into the ballpark with the lights and everything. Then he comes in, and it was like a shit show. He's so lucky. Like this comment just said here, Marchand saved Romano by throwing out Ozzie. He did. He literally did. He did. But I don't want to talk much about that first game, because the first game is exactly what I expected. It's exactly what I told you guys it was going to be. It's exactly what I said it was going to be. You go back to the first stream, the stream I did earlier today. I said the final score of the first game would be like 6-4. It was 5-4. I was 1 run off. That's it. There was 1 run off. And I said this. I said if the Phillies were going to try and drill, were going to try and retaliate, it was not going to be in game 1, and it was nowhere close in game 1. Now, here's where I got pissed off in game 1. Where I got pissed off in game 1 was they drilled. Now, I wouldn't say they drilled Marchand, right? They didn't drill him. That one, I would say that one was more accidental than the Strider was, but they still hit him. They hit another one of our guys tonight, and we didn't do a friggin' thing about it. They hit, hey, look, they hit Harper in game 1. They hit Marchand in game 2. I mean, so in game 2, meaning the first game of the day today. Then game 3 of the day of the series. So the series finale, which was tonight, they hit Trey Turner. So they hit 3 of our guys, and we didn't retaliate. Well, I'm not upset about it, but I mean, it would have been nice to see them retaliate. So, I mean, they got the job done in game 1. They held on. Romano was shaky, but at this point, you know what you're going to get out of Romano. He's not as bad as he once was earlier in the year, but he's also not like wonderful either. So you know exactly what you're going to get out of Romano. I mean, it is what it is at this point. But yeah, I mean, game 2 was, I mean, so hold on. Game 1, masterclass Rafael Marchand game. But game 2 is where I expected this game to turn, right? So game 2 is where I expected Zack Wheeler. So Zack Wheeler gets on the bump. And I said this in my show earlier. I said, if the Phillies are going to sit there, if the Phillies are going to try and retaliate, they're going to have to do it with Wheeler on the bump. They're not going to take the message as seriously if Christopher Sanchez is the guy to deliver the message. So I said, if you're going to deliver it, it has to be Zack Wheeler. Zack Wheeler didn't deliver the message. Zack Wheeler actually shit the bed tonight. And it seems like he shits the bed every time he pitches against the Braves this season, which is not good. It isn't good. So when I saw Acuna step up into the batter's box, I was like, oh, baby, here we go. And he threw a little inside pitch to him. And then the next one, he fouled off and it hit his shin. I was like, we don't even have to do the job. They're doing it themselves. I don't know. He hit it off his shin. He was being a little crybaby, whatever. Right? So, when it comes down to it, the Phillies today in the second game were out of energy. That's the way they play with, like, no fight. They play with no energy. They're like lackadaisical out there, which, I mean, I do understand. You played 2 games today. Schwarber played 2 games. Bohm played 2 games. Turner played 2 games. Like, the majority of the Phillies lineup was in there for game 1 and game 2. It's what you got. It is what it is. You got to do it. So they came out, they played lackadaisical. They had a tough time, hitting. They were, they just didn't. They feel like they didn't care. It is what it is, right? Phil's lack. What's up, man?
Yo, how are you, Broad Street?
Oh, I'm good, brother. How you doing?
Good. I just want to say one thing, that the Phillies showed MLB, every 29 other teams, especially in division rivals like the Mets and the Braves. And, even though the Braves have a winning record, it's still the Braves. They're going to make a late run at the end of the year. They're probably going to finish with, around 85 wins, I would say. We might base them in the wild card if we don't win the division. The Mets might win the division. But what they just proved out there was, they hit Harper, $330 million. They hit Trey Turner, $300 million. Marchand's hit, I don't think that was on purpose.
I don't believe it was on purpose either.
He's a backup catcher.
That one genuinely looked like it was accidental. The Marchand.
Yeah, and it was too low to bases. Marchand, it is what it is. But why would we allow them to continue to pitch inside to our best players without retaliation? What happens if that's Aaron Judge up there with the Yankees, or Shohei with the Dodgers, or even Soto with the Mets? What happens? Someone gets plunked. What if it's Rafael Devers in Boston? Someone gets plunked. What if it's Bryce Harper? No one gets plunked. Rob shows no energy. He shows no urgency. And Wheeler has bad days. It is what it is. He's been great all year besides today. But they have to show some energy, some fight, some urgency.
No, I do agree with that. Now what I was going to get into before you called, it was like, well, we didn't hit somebody in the first game and we didn't retaliate today or in the second game, but I thought when the game started to get away from Wheeler, when the game started to get away from Joe Ross in the sixth, when the game was like, when the Phillies basically rolled over and rolled into their grave in the second game, that's when I expected some guys to start, throwing inside, start plunking guys, because at that point it doesn't matter. If you want to start throwing guys out, ejecting them, it doesn't even matter. We're losing by 8, So yeah.
Oh yeah, but we have to do that in the first inning. We have to send a message that it doesn't matter that the game's tied. It doesn't matter what the score is, because if we just start plunking guys down 8 runs, then all the other teams are like, well, hey, we just have to get up big for them to start hitting us, because if they won't hit us in a close game, they won't hit us too. When the game's 0-0 in the first to get a guy on, they won't do that. So they're just going to throw inside until the game gets out of hand.
No, I do agree with that. And you called in earlier today, and it was like, and I told you, I said, if the Phillies wanted to retaliate, it would have to be Wheeler on Acuna, first inning. And I said they only had one chance at doing that, doing the job. They only have one chance of sending the message. You can't send like a half message and then later in the game do a full message. You can't do it. It's either you go full or not. And the message would only be sent from Wheeler to Acuna. They wouldn't respect it with Joe Ross, or Romano, or Sanchez, or this D. Giroux dude. They wouldn't respect it. It would have to come from Wheeler to Acuna.
Yeah, and you know what really bothers me?
Yeah,
it's not like we just played as the Baltimore Orioles or Detroit or a team like that. We played arguably our biggest rivals, in division rivals, in Philly, and they plunk our guys and they don't get sent home with bruised ribs from a 95-mile-per-hour fastball. We just let. How many games under 500 are they? 7, 8 games?
Yeah, they're a couple games under. Yeah.
We just let them come in and prove to the whole league that they can pitch inside to Harper. They can pitch inside to Turner. They can do whatever they want with our batters, and we don't have the balls to step up and defend our guys. And at that point, it falls on Rob. Rob's lack of energy is starting to hurt this team. It's hurt us in the playoffs, from last year in the Mets series. Team had no energy. Game 5, 6, 7 versus Arizona, the team had no energy. Like, how do you allow I don't want to get into last year, but how do you just allow the bats to get cold that quick in the playoffs? It's lack of energy, and it stems from the manager.
It does stem from the manager, and I appreciate the call, Alex. You are the man. He does have a point. And it's like, well, I'm okay with the fact that we won the series and we didn't plunk anybody. But at the same time, I'm like, well, like Alex said right there in his phone call, you can't allow, you're not retaliating there. Sends a message to the league that you won't do anything back, that they can F with us and we won't F with you back. And that's not a message that I want to send to the rest of the league. I don't want Bryce Harper down the stretch in September to get cranked in the arm again and then miss significant time. I don't want Trey Turner, who's arguably been playing his best baseball as a Philly recently, to get plunked by a pitch and be out for significant time and the teams not have, retaliation. The teams not get hit back, right? So that's where that's where it is, So I'm glad by all means, right? by all means, I'm glad the Phillies were able to take care of business and were able to win the series. But I think a message job would have went a long way. Now, I'm not like most fans where it's like, well, I could get like most fans are like, I could give two shits. We won the series. I want them to get plunked. I want us to start drilling guys. That's not where I am. I'm glad we won the series. I'm glad we were the bigger person here. We didn't start, attacking. We stayed the course. We tried to win the game. It is what it is. It is what it is. So please, guys, if you guys are watching the stream, make sure you please like the stream. Hit that like button. Please subscribe if you're new to the channel. I talk Philadelphia sports all the time, live streams. And obviously, you guys want to call in, talk about the game, talk about no retaliation. The phone number is on the screen, 215-839-8246. That's the anytime hotline number to get in. It's just a time where, game two, and I don't want to really attack Wheeler because everybody's allowed to have bad days. And, I heard John Kruk say that too. John Kruk during the broadcast was like, well, everybody has an off day, even the best of the best, and Wheeler's allowed to have one. He is. He's allowed to have one, but he hasn't been good. He hasn't looked good his past two starts. Then every time he's pitched this season against the Braves, he's had a tough time. So, I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to attack my main man, Wheeler. I'm not going to sit here and chirp him by any means. But here's what I will say about Wheeler. Wheeler didn't look that great, but in that fourth inning, when he started to give up those runs, he got rocked. He had a tough time trying to claw back. He had a tough time trying to find his mojo. So the entire night, it wasn't great. But then when he lost control and it spiraled in the fourth, he could not find himself again. He could not find himself. So that's another start this year where Wheeler has had a tough time against the Braves. And that's not something that I like. I don't want to see that. I want to see my ace go out there, shut them down, and secure a sweep. He didn't do it. He gave up 5 runs, I think it was. I think it was the 5 earned. Definitely and then he got some traffic on the bases in the 6 before he got taken out. So he didn't look his best. And when he lost control, when it all spiraled, he was unable to find himself. He was unable to reel it back in. So, that is what it is, man. It is what it is. I mean, you can't attack Wheeler. You can't, be mad at Wheeler. When the guy shows up, when you need the guy, when you need him, he's there for you. He is. This time, it's just. I think he was just ready. I don't think his body was ready to go in that one for the second game. I just don't think it was because remember he was supposed to go for the Wednesday night game, which obviously then got pushed back to today at 1:00, and then at the 1:00 game, they put Sanchez in and then moved Wheeler down to the nighttime game to face Chris Sale. So I just think like his rhythm was off, his timing, it happens. It is what it is. I'm not going to attack him. And let me tell you this, Chris Sale, he looked good. I'll give him his praise. Chris Sale was very good. And, the Braves, here's like my thing about the Braves. And it's like everybody's talking about how bad the Braves are, but I'm not counting out the Braves. The Braves are still a good ball club. Snicker's a great manager still. They're going to be fighting for playoff contention, and they're most likely a team that the Phillies are going to play, maybe in the wild card, maybe the NLDS, right? I don't want to write the team off. I don't want to say the Braves aren't good because the Braves have showed that they can still put up some runs. They can still fight, and their guys are coming back from injury. Hey, man. So that's like my thing is it's like, well, you're playing a division rival. You're playing the Braves. I don't care how many games under 500 they are. They're still the Braves. They're still a rival. They're going to make a push to the postseason. You know they are. Let's not act like they aren't. You had to go out there and you had to take care of business. And they did. They did. Now, I wish they put up a little bit more of a fight in the second game, but it is what it is. It happens. At this point, it is what it is. So, the team tonight took care of business. Today, the series as a whole, they took care of business. Like, I understand the majority of people wanted the Phillies to just drill Acuna. I was one of them. But at the same time, I'm happy to be walking away with a series win. Because in the long run, because now when the Phillies just won the series against the Braves, that's their 13th series win of the season. You have to start stacking up series wins. You have to start winning games against division rivals. You have to do it. So I get we wanted to retaliate. I know we wanted to send a message, but my message is winning baseball games. My message is continuing to leave the Braves under 500, not giving them a chance to breathe. That's where you have to keep them. Obviously, the Phillies didn't look good in the final game of the series tonight. They didn't. But they still did their job. They still won the series, and that's all that matters. I just think deep down in the long run, what matters is winning. And right now, the Phillies are winning. So I just, that's just where I am, man. That's exactly where I am. And here's another thing, right? Here's another thing. The Phillies need, how do I say this? The Phillies need to, how do I put this? I think the Phillies need to sweep the Brewers. I think a lot of fans are upset at the fact they didn't retaliate. So now you got to go out there. You got to try and put on a show, right? Here. Okay, let's read this one. Top on the hot seat if they fail to make a late playoff push again. So do you mean if they fail to make it to the World Series, or if they don't win the World Series? Is that what you mean? If that's true, if that's what your comment, like the meaning behind it is, then I would say yeah. If Rob Thompson and the Phillies can't make it to the World Series or win the World Series, then I do believe he's on the hot seat. And I think most fans are on the fence about Topper. And I do believe the management, and I think the team and the management like Rob Thompson, but at this point you can't have this team and not win some. You know what I mean? Like you can't, just like if they roll over on their backs again the past couple years. Now I don't believe they'll do that. I don't believe they'll do that because here's the thing. What I've seen out of this team so far this season, just to respond to that one, what I've seen out of this Phillies team so far this season is more fight, more dog, and the ability to fight through adversity better. In recent years, the Phillies, remember when the Mets swept us and we got crushed in the first game of that Cubs series when on the road and we had a tough road trip? And everybody was all up in their arms. I was one of them. I was like, the season's over. We're doomed. The old Phillies teams of the past couple of years would roll over. They'd be scared. They wouldn't fight. I don't believe that they. I just think they're a different team this year. They've shown that they can. I just believe they have shown. They can fight through adversity a little bit differently. They have a different plan. I think their approach to plate's been better than recent years. So now am I ruling out the fact that they could roll over and not play baseball the way that they should? I'm not going to rule it out, but I do believe that this year is different than most, but that doesn't mean that they're going to go and win the World Series just because I don't believe that they're going to roll over and piss themselves this year. I don't believe they're going to roll over and piss themselves. But I believe they have more fight. I believe they have more dog. They've because recent years, man, just like in that Mets series early on when they got swept, the old Phillies teams would have a tough time. They wouldn't be able to fight back from that. They'd be scared. They'd be nervous. Now this team, what I've seen out of this team, they can fight back, and I think that's the message in the clubhouse: is just keep fighting, play your game, do your thing, and let's go out and let's just win. Let's rack up some series wins. I think that's where this team is. I think that's what the message is. But I just and if they do roll over and piss themselves, like they could, it is what it is, right? They do roll over and piss themselves, whatever. But I think that's going after Rob Thompson. Their main problem is they rely on the long ball too much when the ball's not traveling. They have a tough time scoring. They do. But I do believe this season they've done a better job of hitting base hits, getting on base, walking. We can agree to disagree if you don't agree with that statement. They still hit for power. They still, you're with a guy like Schwarber who has been great. And he's been able to put the ball, gap to gap and, get on base. So, Turner's been able to do the same thing. So I get, and I agree that they rely on the long ball too much, but this year I think their approach to the plate's been much better. And I believe that they're starting to play gap to gap, getting singles, getting on base, walking, better approach at the plate. So I just, and with the last statement where it says that when the ball's not traveling, they have a tough time scoring. That is, again, that's true. But they've shown this year when the ball isn't going to fly out of the park, they can get hits. Maybe most of them are not timely hits. Maybe most of them are not when bases are loaded. But they have shown better fight. They have shown better approach at the plate, and that's a big thing. That truly is a big, 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 big thing, man. It really is, right? So, I'm proud we were able to win the series. And I think that deep down in the long scheme of things means the most. And I'm glad we didn't, deep down, I'm glad we didn't play down to the Braves like BS, right? Here's my thing. The Phillies took care of business over the Braves series. They did. They won the series. And I understand most people wanted the Phillies to retaliate. They wanted Acuna to get drilled in the back. They wanted Ozzie Albies to get drilled in the head, right? That's what they wanted. But I think you have to look at the positives of this series. You were able to close them out and shut them down in game one after Ranger Suarez threw a gem. You were able to hold on to the lead in game two and game one of the doubleheader. And then in the final game, obviously it wasn't pretty. But you also didn't roll over and piss yourself. You scored some runs late. I mean, it wasn't great. You didn't have energy. But I think Phillies fans, I get it. We wanted to retaliate. But I think you have to look at the positives that you were able to win the series. Stack up series wins because deep down, later in the year, that's what matters. Wins is all that matters. It doesn't matter when you plunk somebody or when you don't plunk somebody. It doesn't. What matters is winning. And right now, the Phillies are doing a great job to winning, and the Braves are not. That's it. So here's, just to wrap this up again, I wanted the Phillies to retaliate. I wanted the Phillies to retaliate, but I wanted them to do it at the correct time. The only correct time for me was, was the first inning. It was, but it is what it is. It is what it is. I do agree. I do and I get why all the fans out there are like we should retaliate because it sends a message to the Braves. I mean, not to the Braves. It sends a message to the Dodgers, to the to everybody, right? It does. To the Mets. But I think them winning does a better message than us retaliating. And I told you that before. The message from top or down was just go out there and win. That is our best way of retaliating, man. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in to the Phillies post-game show. I get it. People are upset. We should have retaliated. I get it. But it's good to win. It's good to have a series win, especially at home. Right? Like, like my only problem with them not drilling, not retaliating, I do believe, like I do get it, make sure that we're weak, but I don't know. I just don't think. I think people are trying to overthink this. I do. I believe people are trying to overthink. I'd love for them to plunk them. I'd love that, but I do. I just don't think that that's the best for this baseball team. But thank you all for tuning into the show. I really do love and appreciate every single one of you. Please make sure you guys like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Please like this video, whether you're new or not. I talk Philadelphia sports every single day. Make sure you go follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, at Broad Street Sports. We got a great community. But yeah, Phillies win the series versus the Braves, but don't retaliate. And it is what it is. Let's move on. Let's focus on the Brewers. But thank you all. Have a good night.